Let me ask you something that might make you a little uncomfortable. Your doctor, the person that you've been trusting with your migraines for years, maybe decades, what if they were taught the one thing that could actually set you free? I'm not talking about some fringe theory. I'm talking about neuroplasticity. It's your brain's proven ability to literally rewire itself. This science has been around since the 1960s. I mean, that's 60 plus years of research. And here's what keeps me up at night. While your doctor wasn't learning about this groundbreaking, life changing information, they were actually just prescribing you things that made your problem worse. So stay with me because what I'm about to share could change everything for you, everything that you thought you knew about your migraines. If you don't know me yet, hi, I'm Dr. Kevin Wisman. I'm a clinical pharmacist, or I should say, I was a clinical pharmacist. I spent years in the medical system. I trained at the University of Kansas Medical Center. I completed a fellowship. I worked at the VAs as a clinician. I even, at the university, I worked as a medical researcher as well. I've been in almost every sector of healthcare medicine you can think of. And I was a true believer of conventional medicine. But here's the thing. I also suffered from these debilitating migraines and headaches for over 21 years. And despite all of my training and all my access to the best medications, the best research, the best specialists, nothing worked. Not really. I mean, just like you, it wasn't that things maybe worked for a little bit, but they always wore off. And here's the kicker. It wasn't until I discovered what the medical system never taught me. And it's how to actually rewire my brain and my whole body's nervous system. That's when everything changed. And when I saw how deep the problem went, how big pharma profits from keeping you stuck, how doctors are trained to prescribe, but not really to fix the root cause, that's when I walked away from my clinical job. I retired from pharmacy because I couldn't keep being part of this system that was failing people just like you and just like me. So now what we've done is we help women break free from the migraine cycle by using the same neuroscience that the medical industry doesn't want you to know about. Let me show you what I mean. So let's start first with neuroplasticity. And I want to explain this like you've never heard of it before. Because honestly, most people haven't, myself included as a clinician. Or not really. Maybe they've heard it from like someone on social media that doesn't fully understand the science. But let's dive in. I want you to think of your brain like a forest. And in your thoughts, in your habits, in your pain patterns, all of those things, they are like paths that go throughout your forest. So now, when you first walk through that tall grass, it's hard, it's exhausting, there's resistance. But if you walk that same path every single day, week after week, year after year, what happens to the path? The path becomes a highway. There's no more grass, it's just bare, hard dirt. The path becomes automatic. You don't even have to think about it anymore. This is exactly what's happening in your head and with your migraines. Your brain has been walking this migraine path so many times that it's become a super highway. These neurons in our nervous system in our brain, these neurons that fire together, have every migraine attack, they wire together. What fires together, wires together. Your brain has literally learned to produce migraines and headaches and all the symptoms that come with it, whether it's vertigo or nausea or light sensitivity or the whole gamut that we all know about. But here's the beautiful part. And I mean truly beautiful. If your brain learned to create this pattern, it can unlearn it too. That is what neuroplasticity is, the ability to learn or unlearn patterns. It's your brain's ability to forget new paths. It's your brain's ability to forge new paths through that forest. and then let those old paths just grow over, let the grass grow again. Now, here's where it gets frustrating. This isn't new science. The term neuroplasticity was coined in 1948. We've had solid research on this since the 1960s. I mean, we're talking about 60 plus years, 6+ decades of evidence that the brain can change, that it can heal, and that it can rewire. So why don't neurologists know about this? And it's because the medical schools, it's the medical education system doesn't teach it. At least not in the way that it can be applied to migraines and frequent headaches. Doctors are trained in a model that's over 100 years old. It really hasn't changed that much. Sure, they're focused more on like new technologies, but they're not focused on the science that's been missing. They're taught to find the broken part, to give a pill or a procedure to fix it. And it's not their fault again. We only know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. But your migraine brain is not broken. It's not a hardware problem. There's nothing wrong with your head or your body. It's a software problem. It's a pattern that got installed in your nervous system unconsciously, unintentionally. But these patterns can be changed. The problem is your doctor was never given the software update. Now, I have to tell you something. That might be hard to hear, but I care about you too much to sugarcoat this. And I can say that honestly because I've been in your shoes. If you are watching this and you're still suffering with migraines at all, I've been there. And so I care about you because I care about myself. And I know how bad it felt. And while your doctor wasn't learning about neuroplasticity, where there's many other terms, this is just one topic, right? I don't want this to feel as though this is the one fix. Migraine is complex and there's many things that need fixed, but this is a huge one. And when your doctor wasn't learning about this, neuroplasticity, the ability to rewire or brain retraining, they were busy prescribing you medications that were actually making your brain more sensitive to the pain, more sensitive to cause your symptoms. Let me explain what's happening inside your body, your brain, your nervous system. There's something called central sensitization. I want you to think of it like this. Imagine your nervous system has a volume dial, right? In a healthy system, that dial is set to a reasonable level. Normal sensations feel normal. Pain signals come through when there's actual danger. But with frequent migraines and headaches, that volume dial gets turned way, way up. Suddenly, bright lights that wouldn't bother most people, or screens on computers and your phone, all those things feel like knives in your eyes. Or maybe it's sounds, and typically for most people, it's just background noise. They don't even notice it. But for you, it feels like someone's jackhammering inside your skull. That's what central sensitization is. Your brain that processes all of these things has become hypersensitive or oversensitive. Now, unfortunately, here's where it gets worse. Many of the medications that are prescribed for migraines, especially when used frequently, they actually turn up that volume dial even more. I mean, you've probably heard of rebound headaches or medication overuse headaches, right? But it goes deeper than that. The more that you rely on these certain medications to artificially block these pain signals, these migraine symptoms, or these headaches, the more that your brain compensates by becoming more sensitive. It's like, imagine you're in a room and you keep turning down the lights. Your eyes adjust to that, right? They become more sensitive to less light. So now when someone flips the lights on in the morning, it's blinding. That's exactly what's happening in your nervous system. In fact, that is your nervous system working right there. The medications are simply turning down those lights temporarily so that your brain is cranking up its pain signals. It's cranking up its sensitivity to compensate, to overcome the medications, because the medications aren't fixing the root problem. And then what happens when the medication wears off? You become more sensitive than you were when you started. Then you need more medication, and the cycle continues, and you stay stuck in this cycle that Big Pharma wants you to stay in. It's an absolute travesty. And that's saying a lot coming from someone who spent a decade training as a pharmacist, being the pharmacy expert. I'm not saying this to scare you or even to bash doctors or to bash medications because they're great. I mean, I went into that field for a reason. They can do really cool things, but in this situation, not so much. I spent years as a pharmacist. I dedicated my whole career to understanding how medications and how the body works and how they work together until I learned the truth about how most of these medications are probably doing more harm than good. Everything has consequences, everything has benefits. These medications are beneficial, but there's a lot of consequences people aren't talking about and don't realize, and we're just taking it because we want the pain to go away. But if we had a solution to fix the root problem, you don't need the medications as much. That's the world that we want to live in. And again, this is not the doctor's fault. Most doctors are doing the best that they can with the training they receive. But that training that they've received, truthfully, it's controlled, or you could call it manipulated. It's controlled by money, which guess who has the most money in the world? At least in the medical system. Insurance systems and big pharmaceutical companies. And what do those people? They want you to feel somewhat good, but they don't want you to get too good that you never come back, that you never need their services anymore. They would go out of business if everyone got healthy. A great example, I haven't seen a doctor or taken medications in over 4.5 years. Now, I probably should go see my doctor. Go see your doctor, get your lab work checked up. But when it comes to migraine, my life is so amazing. I don't need to even talk about my head or my symptoms. Here's the truth. The big takeaway I want you to know is that you're getting a quick fix that makes you more stuck. It makes you more sensitive, and it puts you in more pain in the long term. Many of my clients are actually healthcare providers. So I'm not even afraid to say this because they've affirmed, they basically agreed with what I'm saying here. One of my clients, she's a physician herself. And she told me this the other day. The neurologist, he only recommended a variation of different medications and drugs and a less than hopeful outlook of resolution, that I pretty much have to keep living with this and constantly trying new things. Another client comes to mind. She just, I remember her saying, nobody's trying to find the root cause of anything. They're just like, here's a Band-Aid, here's a Band-Aid. And I'm really tired of it. And that's when she got fed up and came to us. If that resonates with you, you are not crazy. You're not imagining it, and you're definitely not alone. So now you're probably thinking, okay, Dr. Kevin, I get it. Neuroplasticity is real. Medications, they might be making things worse. So I'll just learn this brain retraining stuff on my own. I'll watch some YouTube videos. I'll read some books. I'll download an app. And look, I get it. I really, really do. But let me ask you something crazy. Have you ever tried to cut your own hair? You can do it. The scissors are available at the store. They're at home. There's YouTube tutorials on how to cut your hair. People do it all the time. But here's what usually happens. You watch a few videos. You think you got it. You might feel a little exhausted already from just watching all these videos. You start cutting anyways, and somewhere around minute 3, you realize that you are in trouble. But you can't stop now. I mean, you're committed, so you keep going, trying to fix it, which actually just makes it worse. And eventually you end up wearing a hat for 3 weeks, waiting for your hair to grow out. Or you end up going to the hairstylist and having to pay 10 times as much for them to fix the mistakes and damage that was done, and then to get you looking a little better than what your own haircut got you. All jokes aside, that is a pretty applicable scenario or comparison. Rewiring your brain is infinitely more complex than cutting hair. And the stakes, they're your life. It's not just your hair growing back. It's your career. It's your family. It's your sanity. One of my clients, she said this perfectly. I have tried every single possible thing. I mean, she'd done the research. She had tried the app. She'd read the books, and she was still suffering. And then she came to us, and honestly, she said, this is too simple. This is too good to be true. But that's what our job is, to make it simple so that you can put things into action, start getting better faster, rather than making it complex and you've got to spend hours, days, weeks trying to figure this all out. We hit the ground running right away. And some of the things actually she's tried before, but she wasn't doing them correctly with the right technique until she got our expert guidance and our feedback and our monitoring. That's when everything clicked and she actually got better. Here's another way to think about it. Have you ever tried to learn a new language with an app like Duolingo or Rosetta Stone or whatever? I mean, it seems great at first, right? You're learning words, you feel like you're making progress, but then you actually try to speak to someone in that language, and what happens? Nothing. Your brain freezes. The words, they don't even come out. Like learning a language from an app, it's hard enough. Now imagine trying to learn it without any guidance, with no app, with no teacher, just you and a dictionary. I mean, that's what trying to rewire your migraine brain on its own is like. You might make a little progress. You might learn some new concepts, but when you're in the middle of a migraine, when your nervous system is hijacked, when you need to apply this stuff in real time, you need more than information. You need a transformation with really a Sherpa or a guide, just like Luke Skywalker needed Yoda, the expert, to help guide them. And that transformation, it requires guidance. So here's what I've noticed about the highest performers in any field, whether it's professional athletes or the absolute best in the world. What do is they get better and better at their job. Do they fire their coaches and say, I've got this now, I can train myself? No, they get more coaches. Tiger Woods didn't win all of those majors and then decide he didn't need a swing coach anymore. I mean, he got better coaches. He got more specialized. He got more focused. Michael Jordan, best basketball player of all time. He had coaches throughout his entire career. Nowadays, the top athletes, I mean, they've got their own personal coaches in the off season too. I mean, the better you want to become, the more support you need, not less. So here's the real question you need to ask yourself. Are you looking for a little migraine improvement, like a 10% reduction or slightly fewer head days? Or do you want your life back? Do you want to wake up and actually make plans without that voice in your head saying, but what if I get a migraine? I mean, do you want to be fully present with your kids, with your spouse, your career, without constantly operating at 60% because part of your brain is always bracing for the next attack? I mean, if you want small results, small effort might work. But if you've got big goals, like if you were given this one life and you've got big goals for yourself, if you want the life that you actually deserve, then you need to approach this like the high performer that you are. You don't do it yourself or DIY your way to excellence. Nobody does. There's a famous African proverb that I love. It always inspires me. That if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think about the women that I work with, the physicians, they've completed grueling residency programs, teachers who show up every single day for their students despite the pain, or executives or business owners that are running companies, or mothers who are raising families while battling through these symptoms that would put almost anyone in bed. These are not weak people. I bet you're the exact same. You are not a weak person. These are some of the strongest, most driven people I've ever met. And you didn't get where you are by doing everything alone. I mean, the things you accomplish, you've probably had mentors, you've had teachers, you've had coaches. Everyone that's gone through this, they invested in expertise. One cool thing, one of my clients, she told me after going through this program, she said, what I've gained is much more than I expected. You tend to join thinking it's about your migraines, but actually it's not about your migraines. It's about everything else, and it's all connected. Another more like clinical focused comes to mind, Kelsey. She went from taking triptans 3 times a week to maybe 2 or 3 total since starting the program. Her families, her friends, they all noticed that she was the happiest they've ever seen her in years. That's not a 10% improvement. I mean, that's a life transformation when other people notice that about you. So coming back to the neuroscience, here's what I really want you to hear. Neuroplasticity is real. Your brain can change. And that migraine pattern that you've been living with is not a life sentence. You don't have to keep living this way. You don't have to keep living with it. But the medical system was not designed to teach you this. Your doctor, through no fault of their own, was never trained on it. And the medications that they're prescribing might actually be turning up your pain sensitivity. I mean, you've been fighting this battle with one hand tied behind your back, using tools that were never designed to actually solve the problem. You can keep trying to figure this out on your own. You can keep cutting your own hair. You can keep hoping it turns out okay this time. Or you can decide that your life, your health, your future is worth investing in properly. Because here's what I know for sure. You didn't get into this alone, whether it was the stress or maybe trauma or just a nervous system dysregulation with bad information from the medical system. All of that contributed, and you don't have to get out of it alone either. If you want to go far, go together. If this resonated with you, I want you to do 3 things. Actually, no, just make it 2. Just want you to like and subscribe to the video. If you want to do a bonus and do a 3rd thing, leave a comment below and tell me. There's some neuroscience behind this. Tell me not just what you learned, because knowledge is not power. Action, applied knowledge, action is power. Tell me in the comment, what are you going to do to start fixing this because of this video? I would love to hear people that actually are taking action, improving their lives. I read every single comment. I'll respond to you. I would love to start a conversation and help you in any way that's possible. But definitely go and like and subscribe that video to get more of these educational videos for you. And if you're really ready to learn more about like brain retraining, nervous system regulation, resetting that sensitivity of your nervous system, and you want expert guidance and what that can look like for you, check out the link in the description, and on our profile or our website, we've got a free masterclass training that goes deeper into exactly like what neuroplasticity is, how it works, but also how we apply it with our methodology and how we get people better. If you're interested, I mean, we have an 88% success rate. 1, we actually track success rates. I'd be curious if your doctor tracks any of that. But 2, we can pretty much predict with the right people who's going to get better and how long it's going to take. So if you want to learn more about that or be one of our success stories, go to that masterclass and learn more about it. But until then, before I see you at the next video, take care and have a great rest of your day.